Hey everybody, welcome back. Today is November 22nd of 2021. This video, we're going to talk a little bit about the tragedy that happened yesterday here in Waukesha, Wisconsin. I actually live in Milwaukee, so this isn't terribly far from me. And this is an area I visited on a somewhat regular basis, so it's something that hits a little bit close to home. So I apologize in advance if this video is a little out of sorts or disorganized. I'm going a little bit off the cuff today to talk about this and how it connects to a number of other recent news stories. Gematria is a topic that I got into several years ago. It's something that I'm still very passionate about because it never ceases to amaze me. And I've always committed to talking about this and teaching it as long as I feel like I keep learning and getting closer to the truth. And incidents like this, are really one of those things that keep me going. So we'll talk about why this weekend was aligned with previous vehicle ramming attacks and how this coding was actually picked up on ahead of time. Back in 2012, there was a television show named Touch that ran for 2 seasons, and it starred Kiefer Sutherland. This was a really interesting show. Personally, I only watched it once, just the first episode. But this series is about a child who starts recognizing numbers around him, and then I think by the end of the first episode, he's able to stop a tragedy based on his pattern recognition skills. Now, I've always had the idea in the back of my mind that what we're looking at with Gematria and Numerology is connected to this. A week or two ago, I talked about the film The Matrix and my idea that there was a really interesting snippet of truth in that film where they talk about how in The Matrix, previous editions didn't work. They didn't convince the inhabitants because it was too utopian. So they had to add some sort of disaster or death code into the Matrix. And I 100% believe that we live in some sort of system. And I don't call it a computer because it's not like any computer that you've ever heard of or are familiar with. It's well beyond that. But I do think that is true to an extent, where there's a code that results in disaster, tragedy, death, and it's familiar to us when we pay attention. Now, whether or not human beings have the power to get in front of that and do anything about it, I don't know. That's not really a topic of this video. That would be plenty down the road, but I do want to talk about why things like this, again, maybe this isn't within our power, but we still have the ability to recognize these patterns. So let's get into why. And we need to start with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, which is another event that's been going on in Wisconsin, and how this all leads into it to start. So let's get started on this first. And I made a post on this yesterday, and I probably will be discussing a little bit in this video. I ruffled a few feathers of people when I said that I think that this event with Kyle Rittenhouse and the people getting shot, I think that was real. Now, I'm not necessarily going to go on record and say that because, we get deceived so much. There's so much fakery and hoaxes going on that it's ridiculous for any of us to invest ourselves in a story as if it were real, okay? So let me be clear with that first. That being said, I got into the subject of Gematria originally because I was a skeptic. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am 100% a skeptic. So when I saw someone teaching Gematria, and actually several people, it was intriguing, but I was skeptical. And I had to do my own research. And it wasn't until I dug into the language, the numbers, the calendar, and I saw way more fascinating, deeper patterns. And now here I am 5-6 years later still talking about this, still teaching it. And the reason I got into conspiracy theories in the first place was because someone had suggested to me that the old Handy Crook shooting out in Connecticut was fake. And I said, that's ridiculous. I'm going to dig into this thing. I'm going to prove to you that it did happen. And we're going to call it a day. Well, I did a little digging, and I quickly found out that it was very possible that something was wrong with that shooting. So that got me down the rabbit hole. I find Gematria. Again, I'm a skeptic. I did my own digging, and now here I am teaching it. So when I saw this Kyle Rittenhouse video last year, it seemed pretty real to me, and I didn't actually make a post on it because I didn't want to give the impression that I thought it was fake, if that makes sense. And, well, of course, I am a conspiracy theorist now, according to Wikipedia. A very subjective terms these days. So, you know, we had this Rittenhouse shooting, and again, I didn't make a post on it. I thought it was probably real. Well, then I looked really closely into it this year, and I started looking at all the different videos, all the testimony. I watched some of the court trial, and I just wasn't convinced that there were enough inconsistencies to make me think it was fake. And this is an incident that could have very well happened. We had weeks, months of rioting and looting. Kenosha was getting worse and worse over several days. I felt like it was only a matter of time till something came to a head. Now, the fact that the media is using this trial and timing the trial so that it covers up other things going on, like the much more important Ghislaine Maxwell trial, for instance. And then we also have these things going on across the world. Australia, further and further lockdowns, people losing access to their bank accounts because they're not VA XX. In Austria, we're seeing mandates now, lockdowns of the public. So absolutely, 100%, the timing of the trial is a distraction. Again, I'll leave everyone to their own devices, do their own investigation. That's not usually a topic of my videos, is trying to figure out what's real, because, again, everything's a mass deception, everything's a rich man's trick. So when they read the verdict on Friday, the time on the clock on CNN changed from 12:12 to 12:13 as the foreperson read the name Kyle Rittenhouse. And the number 1213 is a prime number. Be the 198th prime number. And the number 198 is a number that is very significant to this story because in Gematria, both Kyle Rittenhouse and Kenosha, Wisconsin equals 198. He was being charged of shooting 3 people. 3 equals 198. So does the word beast. The number of the beast is, of course, 666, which is connected to 33, especially in Gematria, which sums to 66 and 60 and has matching Gematria with 156. This number 198 is also 33 times 6. So what that means is that anything in ordinal Gematria that sums to 33 will have Sumerian Gematria of 198. Excuse me. Now, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial ended 30 weeks and 3 days after the birthday of Adolf Hitler, and the name Adolf Hitler equals 303. Now, the media is portraying Rittenhouse as a white supremacist, which is obviously not the case given the footage anyway. But that's been the story. That's been the divisive tactic that the media has used. Recall how 2 days before the trial ended, so 2 days after closing arguments, 2 days before the verdict was read, we had the death of a big rapper named Young Dolph. And Young Dolph, his real name is Adolf Robert Thornton. So we already had this major story with an Adolf. And the name Rittenhouse was first found in Austria. And Austria is, of course, where Hitler was born. And on the same day that Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, we got news that Austria was entering lockdown and bringing in mandatory vaxes. Hitler invaded Germany in the year 1938. Rittenhouse not guilty on all charges, 1938. This number, 1938, is 323 times 6, and it was the 323rd day of the year. So, real or fake, it's scripted to the max. This trial, anyway. And again, I've always been a proponent that Gematria, synchronicity, symbolism, these are tools of this matrix-like system we live in. So, again, it's beyond many of our comprehensions. And certainly, whatever is coding this is more intelligent than a lot of us can understand. Or maybe it's just really big algorithms. Anyway, the phrase mandatory equals 666, so does the word vaccination. And here we get this big number of the beast riddle with Hitler and the 666 beast code, the same day that mandatory vaccination being announced in Austria. Also, it's the date leaving 42 days in the year. Recall how the beast rules for 42 months in the book of Revelation. .666 is the 36th triangular number, and the name Hitler equals 36 in both of our reduction methods. Here on the right side of your screen, we're looking at Alexander Schallenberg, who is the current Chancellor of Austria. And notice how he was sworn in 36 weeks before his birthday, a little over a month ago. And his birthday, or his swearing-in date was October 11th, written 10/11. And again, the word mandatory equals 111. The word vaccination equals 111. Sworn in on 10/11. On the date of this news, Hitler would have been 132 years, 213 days old. And on top of that, Schallenberg was 213 days before his next birthday. Check out how the word mandatory equals 132. The word vaccine equals 132. Schallenberg was born 61 days after Adolf Hitler's birthday. The name Schallenberg and the name Adolf Hitler, both 61. We had the death of young Dolph on 11/17. The name Alexander Schallenberg equals 11/17, which again is the 187th prime number, again connecting to Adolf Hitler. Hitler even died in the year 1945. Schallenberg was 19,145 days old when he instituted these mandates. His birthday is connected to Hitler as well as the date. It just goes on. And I even put this picture here just to demonstrate. It always freaks me out when you can see the pupils, or the white above someone's pupils. And this is one of those guys, man, who just wants to control you. Hopefully that government gets stopped. Pretty wild what's going on there in Austria. All right. So how does this connect to the truck attack? Well, a special shout out to my man Bobby, my Gemini brother, who messaged me on November 20th and pointed out a really wild alignment with JFK. And I already had my eyes on the date November 22nd this year, because November 22nd, which is today, falls 666 days after the death of Kobe Bryant. And Kobe Bryant's life, his career, everything about him was so coded to 666, it's just outrageous. Now, without the end date, yesterday, the date of the parade attack, was also a span of 666 days later. And while I'm giving shout-outs, another special shout-out to Lambda 115, one of my favorite small little channels on YouTube. who just happened to put out a video talking about time travel yesterday and the number 1050. Well, it just so happens that the number 1050 was relevant to yesterday's truck attack because Tony Evers, Wisconsin's governor, was in his 1050th day of governorship in the state. Lambda also goes on to mention the number 666 because when you write out 1050 in Gematria, it sums to 666. So 666 days after Kobe dies, during Tony Evers' 1050th day, we get an attack. And it wasn't just Lambda, and I don't know if Lambda was picking up on something or if this is just part of this organic matrix, the same way that Bobby picked up on this riddle. So let's explain what happened here. We have to start with the post office. Now, why the post office? Well, first of all, let's look at how many days that JFK lived. JFK was assassinated in his 16,979th day alive. This here is a prime number. Notice right there. It's the 1957th prime number. So JFK lived to be the 1957th prime number of days old. In Jewish Gematria, United States Postal Service has a value of 1957. The current Postmaster General who runs the post office is named Louis DeJoy, and he was born in the year 1957. And look at the date that he assumed office, 6/16. 6/16 is the Jewish Gematria of JFK. So already you're seeing a significant JFK riddle aligned with the post office. Well, then earlier this year in August, the post office comes out and says, we're going to increase the price of a stamp, and we're going to make it 58 cents. Well, the 58 sticks out because if you measure from JFK's assassination to this year, today, it's been exactly 58 years. With reverse single reduction, the name John F. Kennedy sums to 58. So, his name sums to a lot of numbers, right? But this is one of them. John F. Kennedy, 58. So August 29th, the date of that announcement, fell 85 days before the 58th anniversary of the assassination. 85, 58. The number 85 stands out too. Rapper Young Dolph. What was I looking at, guys? 85. He was born in 85. That's right, the year 85. And when we're thinking about Dolph, a lot of people commented down below on my video. They said, hey, Dolph Lundgren has matching numbers with him. And notice how Dolph Lundgren was born in the year 1957. The name Dolph Lundgren equals 150. Again, this was Tony Evers' 1050th day in office. And in the film, Dolph's coach in the film, check this out. When we go to Governor Tony Evers of Wisconsin, it says, look at this. For the character from the Rocky films, see Tony Duke Evers. So Tony Duke Evers is the coach of Apollo Creed, who gets killed against Ivan Drago, which is played by Dolph Lundgren. So Dolph Lundgren is connected to Tony Evers through the film Rocky. And now we get this ramming attack connected to Tony Evers, the governor. Before I forget, I meant to talk about this at the beginning of the show, or the episode, or the stream. Anyway, Touch, which was, again, this was in 2012. But this first episode where the kid is able to stop a tragedy. The whole episode revolves around the number 318. And the 318th prime number is 2111, and yesterday's van attack was 2111. So this I'm just trying to exhibit. There's something super organic about what happened yesterday. So I'm thinking, okay, what about the suspect here in the the Waukesha Christmas parade attack? The guy who was arrested was named Darrell Brooks, and look at the name Darrell Brooks. It's another 150 to go along with Dolph Lundgren and all of this other interesting stuff. Also 201, Darrell Brooks, and that's the Jesuit order, 201. So how did we know that this was pointing to a van attack? Well, if you go backwards, 1,957 days from JFK's 58th birthday, you get July 14th, 2016. July 14th, 2016 was the date of the Nice truck attack, when a van drove down the promenade, allegedly killing up to 86 people, injuring almost 500 more. So again, this is what Bobby mentioned. Hey, 1,957 days ago was the truck attack. All of this sent to me on the 20th of November. And then to make this even more bizarre, he was so on it that he even mentioned Rocky IV 2 days prior. And Mercury connects to Rocky IV because, not through Gematria, but Mercury connects to JFK. JFK was exactly 193 mercurial years old when he died. And John F. Kennedy equals 193, so does assassinated 193. Now this Waukesha, they're calling this the Waukesha car crash now. That's bizarre. It was much more than a car crash. Anyway, all the reports I saw were that this happened at 4:40. Now they're saying 4:39 now. That's probably the real time. But everything up until this point was 4:40. And the number 193 is the 44th prime number. JFK was the winner of the 44th U.S. election. 44 is the gematria of not just Wisconsin, where this attack occurred, but also Tony Evers, the governor, 44. Notice how Tony Evers equals 46? Tony Evers is the 46th governor of the state of Wisconsin. Rocky IV was also released in the year 1985, which is the same year that young Dolph was born. And the actor who plays Tony Duke Evers in the movie, his acting career even started in the year 1957, when he was about 20 years old. And notice he died in 2016, the same year as the Nice truck attack. All right, so I'm just kind of scanning the chat. Shout out to everybody who jumped in for this early morning edition. There's some more interesting stuff about this. Now, the fact that it happened at a Christmas parade is certainly no coincidence either. And I want to start with the phrase SUV attack, which is what I saw on some news outlets to start. SUV attack has English gematria of 1225. And, of course, this is the date of Christmas, December 25th. In Jewish gematria, the word Christmas equals 411. The Texas Book Depository, which is the building where JFK was allegedly shot from, sits at 411 Elm Street. And on the date Christmas in 1961, 2 years before the assassination, there was a bizarre synchronicity or clue in the Andy Griffith Show, where it was revealed that Barney Fife lives at 411 Elm Street in Mayberry. The word assassin, also 411. And of course, 4 times 11 is 44, connecting to Wisconsin, Tony Evers. In a couple more of our large number ciphers, Sumerian, which is ordinal times 6, and extended, the standard extended cipher. Notice how JFK assassination equals 1122, like the date that it occurred. Also, JFK conspiracy 1122. And now we get an associated vehicle ramming attack, which equals 1122. Oops. Didn't mean to close the calculator. Now I got to set these up. All right. All right, anyway. So there's a lot more interesting stuff to look at. And, man, where to even start? How about this Patriots-Falcons game the other night? A lot of people who aren't even into numerology were talking about how bizarre this game was because it ended with a score of 25-0. This was the first game in the NFL in about 19 years to end with the score 25-0. In the language of Gematria, Falcons equals both 25 and 250. And back on the date February 5th, or 2-5, in 2017, the New England Patriots came back from 25 points down to defeat the Atlanta Falcons in the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. In the alphabetic order, the New England Patriots also has Gematria of 250. That Super Bowl finished the NFL's 97th season. Notice how New England Patriots equals 97. So did their coach, Bill Belichick, 97. That year, the NFL's touchback was moved up to the 25-yard line. And in order to win the Super Bowl, Belichick and Brady won their 25th playoff game together. It was also the AFC's 25th Super Bowl victory. Remember, it was right after the election of Trump, which equals 25. Even the Pope made an appearance on the Jumbotron before the game. And then the game was won on a pitch play, pitch equals 25, and it was won by James White. James White of the Patriots, who turned 25 years old just 2 days before the game. And now, when this game was played, Tom Brady had 25 regular season starts for the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers just so happened to be the last team to win a game 25-0 in the NFL. If you measure from the last 25-0 game to this one, it was exactly 7,004 days, which stood out because the Patriots improved to 7-4 on the year. It was also 74 days after the birthday of Mac Jones, New England's new quarterback. Mac Jones, again, he won this game on November 18th. It was just 1 day after the death of rapper Young Dolph. Young Dolph was killed for the Lunar eclipse. If you haven't seen my video on that, please do. It's really good. And this game with the Patriots and Falcons took place on the eve of that lunar eclipse. Now, I found it interesting that Macintosh computers changed their name to Mac in the year 1998. And Mac Jones was born in the year 1998. Now, the number 1998 is 666 times 3. You see this? 666 times 3, 1998. The first ever Apple computer, remember Apple made Macintosh, was priced at $666.66. And this has been explained away as the creators just loving rep digits. But it actually has to do with Gematria. Think about how computer sums to 666 in Sumerian. So does the word internet. in reverse Sumerian. Remember, Microsoft was founded in New Mexico, which is 666. And again, this game on the eve of the announcement in Austria of mandatory vaccination, which again ties back to 666, the same week that it's been 666 days since Kobe Bryant's death. And remember, Kobe Bryant, where is he buried? He's buried in Corona del Mar. Kobe Bryant killed off for the coronavirus. Yes, sir, indeed. So not only was Mac Jones born in the year 1998, which is connected to 666, but look at the date he was born, September 5th, which is written 9/5. Now on a calendar, 95 weeks is a span of exactly 666 days, and in Gematria, 666 equals 95. Also notice the 211 and 103. Mac Jones's full name, Michael McCorkle Mac Jones, is 211 and 103. Let me type this out for you. Michael McCorkle Mac Jones. In English Extended, his name is 616, and this is the alternate number of the beast. Right? So not only does he have matching gematria with 666, with a 666 birthday, but he's got the 616, which again, many people believe is the true number of the beast. The beasts are first described in Revelation 4:7. The word beast equals 47. That verse has gematria of 471, which is the satanic value of Revelation. Think about the Macintosh computers. Macintosh equals 471. Well, Macintosh also equals 331. And this is an incredibly significant number to Revelation, where 666 is revealed as the number of the beast. Revelation is written by John of Patmos. Patmos is 331. The Revelation is about the second coming, which equals 331. The return of God's Son, which is 331. The 331st prime number is 2221. The final book of, or the final verse of Revelation, which is the final verse of the Bible, is Revelation 22:21. Now, another thing that trips me out here is how, again, this happened the day after the death of Young Dolph. Now, in my video on Young Dolph, I pointed out how his death was a riddle connected to the Jesuit order and the Eclipse Code. Young Dolph was born exactly 5,338 months after the Jesuit order was founded. Well, if you measure from the birthday of Mac Jones to the launch of the first Macintosh computer, which was the 128K. Let me bring this up for you so you can see. January 24th, 1984, to Mac Jones's birthday. Look at this. Oh, wait. What happened? 124. There we go. 5,338 days. So from the introduction of the Macintosh to the birth of Mac Jones was the same number of days connected to the whole Jesuit order, and it's a 4-digit number, so that's pretty wild. But yeah, this original Macintosh ad even referenced the year 1984. Again, it was in the year 1984. Now, if you fast forward 1,984 weeks from this commercial, you actually get the date of the NFC Championship game, I think. Yeah, without the end date. So from the date of the commercial, this 1984 commercial, this is a really famous commercial run by Apple for the Macintosh. Exactly 1,984 weeks after that was this year's AFC title game. So to me, and this has a 888 in it as well, to me, this probably suggests that the Patriots might go to the AFC title game. That's what it seems like. But, again, that's yet to be seen. I hope someone's jotting my predictions down. And again, the year 84 relevant to the whole Jesuit code because the word Jesuit equals 84, right? The Jesuit order, 84. We had an article about Patriots player Kyle Van Noy being randomly drug tested after the game. So Van Noy made a couple of huge plays in the game. I guess he had like a sack fumble and an interception, maybe 2 picks. I can't remember. But after the game, we learned that he got randomly drug tested and he was upset about it. Well, the reason this happened is, again, because this game was played on the date of the lunar eclipse, or on the eve of it, just hours before. The number of the moon is essentially 666, which I have an entire PDF file about for. I encourage everyone to check that out. And look at the name Kyle Van Noy, 1666, 2016. Of course, 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So his number was perfect for it. His name was perfect for it. But the mockery was real in this NFL game. This year's partial lunar eclipse, which was the longest in a 1,200-year window, it lasted for 3 hours and 28 minutes. And it's not actually corroborated here, but what we're looking at here is the partial eclipse. So with a lunar eclipse, you have more phases than you do in a solar eclipse. There's the penumbral phase, the partial phase, and then the total phase. Now, this eclipse never reached the total phase. However, the partial phase lasted 3 hours and 28 minutes. I'm sorry. This is 3 hours, 28 minutes right here. 208 minutes. Duh. 208 minutes is 3 hours, 28 minutes. And think about how the score of Super Bowl 51, which had the Patriots and Falcons, that game got off to a 28-3 start. The halftime performer of that game was Lady Gaga, who was born on 3/28. The Simpsons season 28, episode 3, even had the Falcons in the Super Bowl. And this is mentioned. I think the Patriots are even in this as well. It's just, again, total mockery. And then the big rematch occurs on the eve of the lunar eclipse. Remember, that was also Super Bowl 51. And the word moon equals 51. This past week, Bill Belichick was 217 days after his birthday for the Patriots' win over the Falcons. And 217 is the ordinal value of New England Patriots. And Super Bowl 51 was played in the year 2017. In reverse, New England Patriots is 269. Super Bowl 51 was Tom Brady's 269th career start. And now the new quarterback is Mac Jones. And check out how Mac Jones equals 269. Belichick's full name even had matching gematria with Super Bowl 51. This game against the Falcons was Belichick's 347th regular season game. 347 is the 69th prime number. And look at the name Belichick, 69 in Jewish. The phrase lunar 69, the word eclipse 69. It was also Belichick's 251st regular season win for the Pats. And notice how Pats equals 251. This is also the 54th prime number, lunar eclipse 54. More riddles to be uncovered in the post. Check out how Michael McCorkle-Jones, Mac Jones, his name equals 86, just like partial lunar eclipse. His age matched partial lunar eclipse in Gematria. Just browsing in on the chat. The number 38. Well, most people in the chat here will tell you that 38 is usually coded negatively, and it has to do with death and reincarnation and whatnot. The first clue for this is always the poster in the film Murder by Numbers. And you'll see on this poster, the E in murder is like a 3, and then the B in by and numbers is like an 8. So you have a backwards 3 and then an 8. And it's important to note that, you know, they could have made the letter S a 5, but they didn't. They could have turned like the D into an O or something, but they didn't. It's just the 3 and the 8. The word murder equals 38 and 83. The word killing is 38. The word death is 38. The word Kabbalah is 38. And what we're looking at, Gematria, numerology, astrology, these are all elements of the Kabbalah. So just because it, you know, the word death and killing and all these equal 38, the Kabbalah is a recognition of the type of spiritual matrix or world we live in. So numbers are duality. I want to remind everybody of that. When you write out the word numbers, here, let me do this. Numbers 92, 29, 97, 43. And then you write out duality. And look at this. You get the same numbers, 92, 29, 97, 43. Just because something sums to a number does not give it a definition. There are duality in numbers. Of course, there are patterns in numbers as well, which is what we're looking at. Well, that's an interesting question, right? Is there a number to negate the negativity of 38? Well, I would argue that Kabbalah is a word that would negate that negativity. No, spirit was 37. I was thinking of the number 44 because if you go 44 weeks from any date, notice how 44 weeks is also 308 days on a calendar. So this is exhibited in Gematria, right? Because death is 38 and then kill is 44, which is why you see so often things happen 308 days or 44 weeks after someone's birthday. So kill is 44, but so is, like I said, spirit is 44. The word rebirth is 44. So to me, that's an example of how there's duality. Yeah. Happiness 44, is that true? Sure. Happiness 44. So I always kind of snicker when someone sends me their Gematria and they're like, "Can you tell me what my name means?" Well, not necessarily. I can tell you what your significant numbers are and what to keep an eye out for. But I can't tell you what your numbers mean. Like, my name sums to 203 and 95. Does that mean I'm the crocodile hunter? No, I've never wrestled a crocodile in my life. So the crocodile hunter is something I could maybe be aligned with or something in some degree, but you can do a lot with numbers, right? An ironic thing for me to say, considering I'm the one doing these things with numbers. But yeah. All right, so we're turning this into a little quiz gematrinator today, hey? You asking me about 45? All right. Let's get into 45 then. Let's start with Saturn, which is the 6th planet from the sun. Saturn, 6, starting with the same letter. Coincidence, you decide. The 6th prime number is 13. 13 is also the 7th Fibonacci, and if you add 6 plus 7, you get 13. Now, when you write out 13 in Gematria, you have the same value in both reduction methods. Notice how it sums to 45 in both methods. Now, just this past week, we had the death of a guy named Sam Huff, a former NFL player. And notice how Sam Huff died at the age of 4,545 weeks. 4545. Why is that? Because his full name, Robert Lee Huff, has matching gematria with 13, the number 567. He died on a date with 45 numerology, which was the 13th of the month, exactly 13 weeks before the Super Bowl. Let's take this a step further. Let's go to the Golden Gate Bridge and the city of San Francisco. So the Golden Gate Bridge is essentially the symbol of San Francisco, because when you look up San Francisco, there you see the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Look at how Golden Gate sums to 45 and 45 in reverse reduction, right? Again, just like 13. Now, the Golden Gate Bridge opened on May 27th of 1937, was it? Yes. Aha, my memory still serves me. So 5/27, 1937. If you subtract 4,545 weeks, you get April 18th of 1850. April 15th of 1850 was the incorporation date of San Francisco. So that means San Francisco was 4,545 weeks old. I made a post last year in June about the number 45 and connected to the eclipse cycle. And I made this, what I consider to be very beautiful image. I would call it art if I wasn't using software created by Google. But what I noticed is that basically the greatest eclipse point of two total solar eclipses sometimes come very, very close to each other, exactly 405 lunar phases apart. I didn't even realize that the name was Golden Gate that I was talking to. That's funny. Maybe that's why I thought of Golden Gate, but whenever I see 4545, I always think about Golden Gate. Who asked me about 45? Poop slap. What kind of name is that? All right. Anyways, so yeah, what you're looking at is 4 total solar eclipses. 2 of these are the Great American total solar eclipses, right? And then you're also looking at 2 significant solar eclipses, one from 98, one from 91. And these 2 right here were exactly 405 moons apart. Now, I mentioned Saturn earlier. Man, I got a lot of tabs open. All right, let's go Saturn in Hebrew. Saturn has a Hebrew value of 713. So you have the 7 and the 13. And remember, I'm going to hang on and bring this up again. The number 13 is the 7th Fibonacci. Oh, I forgot to look at the magic square of Mercury earlier. All right, let's look at the magic square of Saturn. Bear with me while I pull it up. This is the magic square of Saturn, which has a sum of 45. So if you add up every number 1 through 9, you get a sum of 45. And think about Donald Trump being president number 45. He was heavily coated with Saturn. We can get to that in a little bit. In English Gematria, the phrase total eclipse sums to 713. And there's some esoteric mystical connection between Saturn and total eclipses. Some people refer to Saturn as the black sun. And only when the moon covers the sun does it turn black. Also, the 45th prime number is 197. And this brings us to the moon's Metonic cycle. Let's get rid of these tabs here. All right, let's go to the Metonic cycle. Now, the Metonic cycle is a period of 19 years. And in Gematria, Metonic cycle is 197. And 19 years is 197. And think about how every 19 years, 7 of them have a 13th lunar phase. Or a 13th month on something like the Hebrew calendar. 13th month equals 197. In Satanic Gematria, the word moon equals 197. Again, all the 45th prime number. Do you guys remember Super Bowl 45? This was the Packers' 13th Super Bowl championship, or NFL championship. Super Bowl 45, it was the Green Bay Packers' 13th NFL championship. 13 equals 45 and 45. Okay, so I talked a lot about 45 there. Hope I answered your question there. Yeah, I might be taking calls before long, guys. The website's going to be undergoing a pretty big revamp pretty soon, and I think we're going to be able to implement like a new podcast and everything as part of that. So it won't be long. Stay tuned for that. Browsing through the chat, I see a couple people mention it's a psyop. It's a psyop. You guys are probably talking about the Rittenhouse thing that I was talking about earlier. Again, I don't know for sure what happened, but I urge that nobody knows for sure what happened. And everyone I've brought this up to so far, you know, I've kind of tried to break them down and ask them why they think that it's fake. And I just haven't been happy with the answers. So, guys, dig for yourself. I'm not here to tell you what to think. Again, it's all a rich man's trick anyways. It's all distraction. For us to keep digging and asking and being divided about those things, that's what they want. So I'm not going to keep feeding into it. I'm just giving you my ideas, and I want everybody to stay true, because what I see happening is that there is a huge change of consciousness happening that's on the horizon. And it's already happening. A lot of people are already feeling it. But I just want to make sure that everybody's level throughout this wave as we all ride this wave of consciousness that's hitting us. And look, you know, I don't talk about Flat Earth on this channel, again, because it's a very divisive topic, and people have really strong emotions about it. And the reason people have strong feelings about it is because they believe either one of two things, which is that they know the Earth is a globe and it's impossible for it to be flat. And then the other side says, the other side has been fooled. I know they've been fooled. So each side just believes what they do, and it fires people up. Now, I'm of the camp that I think the whole flat earth thing is a psyop. And, it's something that's divided the community. You had people using words like globetard to refer to people who believe the earth is a globe. How do you guys not see that that is intentional division within the truth community? And I want to point out, by the way, that one of those guys who used that word to insert that divisiveness is no longer around. Apparently he passed away from COVID, and as tragic as that is, hey, we don't need that type of division, so the truth community is not going to miss that. And, but anyways, look, I'm of the camp that says, again, I'm a skeptic. I look at everything individually, and to me, flat Earth didn't survive the scrutiny, right? So I have a lot of people coming in telling me they know the Earth is flat, whereas I know I disagree with that. And again, I don't talk about it. I don't care. But when it comes to situations like this with psyops and whatnot, is it always good to just say it's always fake? Because eventually something real is going to happen, and you're going to seem foolish for calling it fake as a knee-jerk reaction, in my opinion. Well, as far as the CV-19, is it a hoax? Well, look, people are getting ill, and it is unusual how many people are having sudden breathing problems. That's not a hoax. Again, this is a perfect example. Here's someone who just calls many things a hoax, seemingly reflexively, and I don't do that here, okay? Now, is it a virus? Is it actually a contagious virus like they say it is? That's where I disagree with the narrative, okay? Yes, it's a conspiracy. Yes, it's of course a conspiracy. Hoax is not the right word to use. That's just my advice. That's my opinion. Yes, NASA lies, government lies. But here's the thing, okay, and this is, again, I don't want to get into this, but it's always inevitable whenever I bring it up. Somebody asked, why would they tell the truth about the Earth? Guys, it wasn't the government that first told us the Earth is round. Okay, people were able to deduce that by looking up. And I'm sorry to those of you who are still onto this, but it's not something that you're going to be able to wake people up with, because people don't think the Earth is round because they were told that. People have figured that out in their head because they look up and at the stars and everything. And so, again, go ahead and try to wake people up with flat Earth. It's not going to work. Right, I know people who have lost taste and smell from whatever's happening. Yes, that's true as well. I know of people who took the VAXX who got sick, and I've known more people who didn't who got sick. And actually, a few weeks ago, I know someone who was, I think, 41 years old who died. And he was not healthy. He was, I guess, very obese. But, something's happening. So, Ari, it does make sense. Because the sun and moon, if they were close to the Earth, they would be moving at a faster speed when they're directly overhead. They don't do that. It always moves at 15 degrees. The sun always moves at 15 degrees per hour, whether it's on the horizon, whether it's overhead. I'm not going to get into it. So do your own, again, guys, do your own research. This isn't a Flat Earth channel. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'm here to tell you to think. Globetards, see? So because of the Masonic division that was inserted into the truth community, I have a truther calling me a globetard. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Hey, you guys will figure it all out, I think. I'm confident that everyone will reach the necessary level of truth they are here to discover before they leave. So my apologies for bringing that up. I know it gets the juices flowing. People want to bring it out. Do your own research means you don't know. You're funny, Ari. Okay. Back to the decodes here. Anybody got any other numbers they want to ask about? There's a chance that I might be able to go onto a tangent again. But you see what I'm saying? Like, the fact that people are arguing over this thing and very emotional about it, that is the goal. They want people upset. They want people raging at each other because, again, it's another thing that takes the focus off of the real issues, the real problems, which is that we are being ruled over by a cabal. And we still have some work to do to defeat them and make sure that they don't get their way. And a lot of that is waking people up. You know, what I will say is that, look, we like I said earlier, we live in a matrix, so to speak. We live in a realm. We live in a construct. Not going to use the word computer because it's far beyond that. So, yeah, I get why people are confused about reality. That's all I'm saying. Right, and it doesn't make a difference. I mean, it doesn't change how you travel to your next destination. It doesn't change what time the sun is going to come up. It doesn't change when the eclipses will occur. To me, it's kind of entertaining that I can bring up a topic and to me that's so cut and dry and just incite all sorts of division. So I'm glad we can agree on at least that, right? Because this is what's lacking in the world is that 10, 15, 20 years ago, I used to be able to discuss politics with people, disagree with them, and still end the conversation on a positive note and feel happy about my interaction with other people. That sense has disappeared, and that's all by design. So what I want is for people to be able to debate something, talk back and forth, and simply be happy that they had the discussion and be happy that they were able to see something from someone else's perspective and take that into account. But people don't do that anymore, and that's how you know that there's a problem. All right. All right, so tell us about the number 1123. Nothing off the top of my head. 1123. That's tomorrow's date. 188th prime number. A number significant to money. The Illuminati, perhaps. Not a number I talk about very frequently, actually. Yeah, I'm going to skip 1123 because it's a big 4-digit number that I don't exactly have a whole lot of knowledge about. This number was, I remember. This number, I had a very strong organic synchronicity with this once, where I went out on a date with a girl on 2311. That was our first date. And then when we broke up at a bar whose address was 2311. Like a few months later. And I thought that was funny. That's my only memory of 1123. It's not relevant to anything that you guys say. The number 667 was another one that was thrown out there. 667, of course, this is kind of shorthand. This is like it's connected to the 666 code. If you're on board with the whole rule of Kal-El, right? The one-off rule. Isn't it funny how Tom Brady equals 667? And what was the 16? There was a big 1665 with the Patriots. I can't remember. Was it this? This is it. Okay, the New England Patriots, 1665, right? So 1 plus 665 is 666, and then Tom Brady, 667. I actually don't know a whole lot about 667, but yeah. Hey, shout out to Ari in the chat for saying, hey, you know, not emotional. We're just, everything's division. We understand the realm is an illusion. That's exactly the point I'm trying to get across, is that the illusion kind of rules this matrix. And there is a force beyond human recognition, beyond our five-sense reality, that is attempting to deceive us. And it acts through humans, through these secret societies that we see play out these rituals on television. Yeah, I don't talk about the rule of Kal-El very often. I just point out that it's there because I've heard people mention this very frequently. And I don't mention it when it's like, you know, 46 and 45. Like, hey, rule of Kal-El, it's the same. No. And if you take it a step further, if it's true that you can add or subtract one from every value, then you could technically say that 45 and 47 are the same because you can add 1 to 45 and subtract 1 from 47. So that's why I don't talk about it unless it's just one off on a very big number. And then to me, sometimes it's like, wow, this is really interesting. Someone wanted to ask about 9/11. Oh, man. 9/11, I could do another hour on this video. Or on that number. And then I can answer a question on psychedelic drugs, maybe. Shout out to Simple Truth. We did catch the 201 with the Daryl Brooks. I want to point out Daryl Brooks was 150, which is the same as Dolph Lundgren. Dolph Lundgren kills Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. Ivan's manager is Tony Evers. The governor of Wisconsin is Tony Evers, who was in office for 1,050 days. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. I told you guys this would be a little disorganized. But I did want to quickly touch on the number 9/11. In the year 2001, there was a total solar eclipse on the summer solstice, which is an event that only occurs approximately once every 500 years. June 21st, 2001. In Greek isopsophy, the phrase for total eclipse has a Gematria value of 911. Of course, 911 is a prime number, the 156th. In Hebrew, the word for eclipse, which is this first one in the translation, you'll see this translates to like impairment or occultation. It's their word they use for eclipse. And this word in Hebrew sums to 156. And the reason 156 is a significant eclipse number is because every eclipse always happens 1, 5, or 6 lunar phases after the last one, 156. So in 2001, we get the terrorist attacks on 9/11. And this was 83 days after the eclipse. And check this out. Total eclipse? Oh, that's not the phrase I remember. What about full eclipse? I know this is solar eclipse right here. In Hebrew ordinal, solar eclipse and total eclipse both sum to 83. And 9/11 was 83 days after that eclipse. Also, think about one of the most ubiquitous secret societies. Ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry. See how this sums to 1911, which of course has a 9/11 in it. Now, if you measure from 9/11, 2001, to the first Great American Total Solar Eclipse, you get 191 months and 10 days, like 1911. Because, again, 9/11 was all about the eclipse code. And the eclipse code ties back to the crucifixion of Jesus, who was allegedly crucified on the date of a lunar eclipse. Think about the two towers in the shape of an 11. Jesus equals an 11. The towers sat just 2 blocks from the 74th meridian line. Jesus equals 74. New York equals the 74th prime number in prime number cipher. Oops. So yeah, that's just a little bit about 9/11. If you guys want to find more about 9/11, of course, I got a big video on it, but check this out. Think about how the numbers 93 and 77 were so significant. We had Flight 93 get taken over by passengers. One of the planes hit the 93rd floor. If you add the flight numbers of the first 2 planes that hit the World Trade Center, it sums to 186, which is 93 times 2. Right? 93, 93. Well, think about the number 9/11 as a date. 09/11, right? Now, if you're a Satanist or someone who's evil, you like to do things backwards. Turn things upside down, right? So if you turn the number 09/11 upside down, you get the number 1160. The 1160th prime number is 9377. And then we also had Flight 77, which hit the 77-foot tall Pentagon on the 77th meridian, 77 minutes after takeoff. It was traveling 777 feet per second, which is, of course, impossible. So there's a little bit about the number 9/11. And I missed out on the chat. Yeah, it's an endless rabbit hole. I mean, I could go on for literally hours about just the number 9/11. Someone's asking, what's up with the black cube business? It's funny that I read that question with the number 777 on the screen. Someone asking about the black cube. So let's look at the black cube. Okay, so Kaaba. Of course, I'm familiar with the Kaaba. This is I used to use this as a gamer tag, actually. It's pretty funny, but not going to get into that. So the Kaaba is the black cube, and you see this as a symbol of Islam. Now, the black cube, this is underhanded Saturn worship. So I had the 777 on the screen. This is an organic hint that this is relevant. Look at cube of Saturn, 777. Remember I mentioned Donald Trump earlier, President 45 connected to Saturn. When Donald Trump took office, do you know how old he was? Guys, do you remember? 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days. President 45. Again, 45, the magic square of Saturn. This is Mercury. This is different. The black cube sums to 93 in ordinal. Guess what else sums to 93? And 69 is the planet Saturn. Saturn is 93 and 69. And when they go to the black cube, everybody walks in circles. You know, they get in, and this is like the rings of Saturn. See? The rings of Saturn slowly moving around the black cube. And what you're seeing here is mass-scale human spellcasting, in a sense, where they are using millions and millions of people to play out the astrological symbols and sigils that they have placed power under. And then things like this give that more power. That's how my theory on it. But that's pretty interesting, right? And look at Islam in Gematria. Islam is 54. Now, every 54 weeks, Saturn falls back in conjunction with the sun. And it's pretty much exactly 54 weeks. And in ordinal, the word sun equals 54. So 54 is the number connecting the sun and Saturn. What's considered to be the divine number of Islam is 19. And think about how the word sun begins with the 19th letter. And in the tarot, the sun is the 19th card. Of course, there's 19 years in the Metonic cycle, which we talked about earlier. Also, cube. Here's another big thing about the cube and the black cube and Saturn connection. Check this out. So cube has this gematria of 13 and 31. And in my work, I talk about the eclipse code and the number 1331, like all the time, and how it's the ultimate eclipse number. And remember, Saturn has matching gematria with total eclipse, Hebrew to English. The 1331st prime number is 10,957. When everybody turns 30 years old, look how many days old they are. 30 years is exactly 10,957 days. This is the 1331st prime number, 30 years. See that? And with the S exception, the planet Saturn sums to 30. And it takes approximately 30 years for Saturn to orbit the sun, 29 and a half years. That 29 and a half, almost identical to the moon's orbital period around the Earth, or a lunar phase, 29 and a half days. So cube equals 1331. Now, where does this get really freaky? Look at Saturn's orbital period, 10,759 days. So all you do is switch the 9 and the 7, and you get Saturn's orbital period. It's directly connected to 1331 like cube. So this is actually something I taught in one of my first Gematria videos, Signs of Time. That video is probably still linked in the description below if you want to check that out. All right, so we've been going for about an hour and 20. We started out talking about the vehicle ramming attack in Waukesha. Just a terribly sad incident. And, you had children among the people who lost their lives. Just an awful thing, man. Let's see. What else was I going to touch on before I left? Oh, I talked about the number 1957, right? And this is the number that pointed us to a vehicle ramming attack before the ramming attack in Waukesha happened. And there's another thing I wanted to point out about this number that connects it to JFK. Now, I've done some work on the JFK assassination and how the Las Vegas shooting was a tribute to the JFK assassination. Now, if you measure from the death of JFK to the Vegas shooting, it was 666 moons and 6 days. The moon equals 90 and 99, Sin City 90, 99, Stephen Paddock 60 and 66. The assassination of JFK was a Mercury riddle. I have a separate post on that, but Mercury is sometimes symbolized by this symbol. And think about Mercedes-Benz using it. This is the shape of the Mandalay Bay Casino where Paddock allegedly shot from. Kennedy was assassinated at the age of exactly 193 mercurial years. John F. Kennedy and assassinated equals 193. Jack Kennedy equals Mercury. He was born in 1917, which is the square number value of Mercury. He died in 63, which equals 1973, like Mercury. He was even born on the United States mercurial birthday. So everything about JFK was Mercury. He was even a Gemini, which is ruled by planet Mercury. And then we talked about the number 1957 being significant to JFK because he lived to be 16,979 days old, which is the 1957th prime. But check this out. Notice the divisors of 1957. One of them is 103. And 103 is the number that connects Jack Kennedy, 103, to Mercury, 103. If you add up all the divisors of 1957, you get a sum of 2080. 2080 is the sum of the magic square of Mercury. This is a 8x8 grid, 64 total squares. The number 2080 is the 64th triangular. And this number is connected to me. I'm also a Gemini. My buddy Bobby, who picked up on this code, he's a Gemini. In the square number cipher, think about how this is a magic square, right? My name, my first last name, my common name, equals 2080 in square numbers. And again, I'm ruled by Mercury, which is the planet of communication, new ideas. Here I'm trying to convey this new idea of gematria and synchronicity to the world. And check out my name, 142 and 182. Gematria is 142. Synchronicity is 182. I was even born with the sun approaching 74 degrees on the ecliptic. It would reach it later that day. Saturn was at 233 degrees of the ecliptic, like Gematria. And then someone asked about the number 522 in the chat I saw. My name is 522. And check out how my name is also 142. Well, the 142nd day of the year is 522, right? So I have this awesome alignment where, you know, between the calendar and Gematria, 142, 522, just like my name. And one of the things I teach about is the Metonic cycle. And this is credited to an astronomer named Meton. And notice how Meton equals 225, the inverse of 522. And where do I live? I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is 225. So that's a little fun stuff. I think that's a great question, Golden Gate. How many agents in the chat? The longer I do a live stream, it always seems like people come in and disrupt. I haven't been following every message on here, but I've been trying to go back. Of course, Stephen Paddock was a patsy. Of course, just like Lee Harvey Oswald was a patsy in the JFK shooting. The Columbine massacre was actually in 1999, not 1998. But it was on Hitler's birthday, yes. Yeah, in the future, gematria, numerology, astrology, these will be normal components of your life. And I mean, I have no doubt that I didn't come here to Earth to watch everybody just dance around in numbers with no clue of what's going on. I came here to help kind of organize everything. I haven't done a great job yet, but in due time, I think, yeah, by the time I leave this world, humanity's going to be a lot more awake to what they live in and what's going on. Yeah, and you know, Columbine, I actually thought that was a real shooting for a long time, man, but I saw some stuff recently where I am pretty convinced that there was some hoaxery going on. And there was one video in particular that really sold me, that started to change my perception on it. And it was when the police dragged a body in front of the children as the children were running past it. And it's like, you could see they intentionally drug this body so that the kids could see it and scare them. And the body was obviously a dummy. So, yeah, that was some BS too, man. And that Columbine shit, that pisses me off more than anything. More than just about any hoax I've seen, because I was a freshman in high school when it happened, and I believed it. And it scared the shit out of me. And there was barely a day that went by in high school where I never thought of like somebody popping in and shooting us. Yeah. So that's the whole idea, man, and that's why I'm trying to this day to try and break these spells that they're casting over us, to show people that the only thing worth fearing is fear itself. God, yourself, whatever lives inside of you, that's where the real fear lies. And if you can get over it, life is actually a pretty magical place. And shout out to those who recognize the excellence of some of the things that are shared here. Yeah, I mean, ideally this channel would have millions of subscribers, but if this channel had millions of subscribers, the power structure would be in trouble. And people would start to realize that, yes, there are forces that are trying to control them. People are starting to realize that anyway, because those forces are getting way too arrogant. And in my opinion, they are truly starting to lose. And I get that there's a lot of fear channels and a lot of fear porn out there. I've never been about fear porn. I also don't want to give people false hope where there is none. But I'm telling you guys, the energy I felt after this last lunar eclipse, the longest one in like 600 years or whatever, things are changing. Things are happening. Things are growing. All right. Probably going to look at wrapping this up. We've been going an hour and a half. Let some of you guys get out to the other channels that you follow. There's a lot of great channels out there. Shout out to Chance from Interverse, whose podcast I was on again a couple weeks ago. Looks like he's going to be on today. It's been nice chatting with you guys. You know, this isn't something I do often enough. It's something I'm going to be doing more and more in the future as I continue to devote more and more time. You've noticed in November, I've really gotten back to what I was doing when I started the blog, which is post every day, and often post multiple times every day. And my blog is a lot better than it was when I first started it. If you look back at my first original blog posts, I think it kind of sucked actually, but I had to go through that period to turn it into what it is today, you know? Because Gematria, it's a skill, it's an art. It's based on experience. It's this never-ending, fascinating web of all sorts of colors, tastes, smells. I don't know. I could just go on. Someone was asking, what if I had never met Zach? I imagine you're talking about Zach Hubbard. Well, Zach Hubbard was a huge part in my growth, is finding his work and what he's done, and I and many people owe Zach, you know, a lot as far as, you know, recognizing that he was the one to set his time aside, say, I don't care how crazy I look, I'm going to go out and teach numerology, and if people don't see it, I'll be damned. That was, you know, coming across that and seeing that, it's very inspirational, and it's a big reason why I'm teaching today. You know, I tell myself I'd like to think I would have found Gematria anyway. I don't know how that would have all developed. And, you know, Zach and I have had our differences. And, you know, enough so that I kind of put myself at a little bit of a distance. But at the same time, you know, we both have the same motivation, which is to wake people up to what we, for whatever reason, can see, which is this type of coding. And that's when you get into the esoteric, mystical part of it, where we both have Jewish ancestry, yet neither of us are Jewish or raised as such. I think a lot of people talk about, you know, how much is Jewish and how many people are Jewish without really realizing, again, what is really going on. And I have theories about all that and how those of us with ancestry like that, there's kind of an alien element to it, right? we're bringing about all these new ideas, and it's something I like to explore from a different perspective than most people. I'll just leave it at that. The accident was pretty close to me. I live in West Dallas, which is kind of a suburb of Milwaukee in the Loop here. So Waukesha is like 10, 15 miles out west. And it happened on Main Street, which has a bunch of bars that I've, gone to many times. So that was really disturbing to me to see what happened. Yeah, I guess, the difference now between what I'm doing and what Zach is doing, I don't know. I mean, we're both doing a lot of the same thing. We teach a lot of the same thing. There's a lot of overlap, right? He's been talking about how things are connected to the Jesuit order. I've been exploring the eclipse code, and I think what's so wild is that it's both. Like, when you intersect the Jesuit with the eclipse code, it's the perfect dissection of the numerology. So it's everybody's efforts coming together to get closer to the truth. And I recognize that that's part of the whole journey. I'd like for him to be more open to the organic elements of things and to see how he himself is coded for this knowledge, that he was born to do this. I think he knows that deep down. So, no hate here. I mean, I just want everybody to see what we see. And yeah, I came from a different background. I don't know much about Zach's background. When I came into numerology, I look at everything as I initially saw a lot of things as a conspiracy. Still do, but my mind is always open, and through my own observations in my own life, it's clear to me that something is going on a greater scale. And if I'm prone to synchronicity, if you're prone to synchronicity, I believe everybody is. That includes people that we see on a national stage in an international spotlight. So the numerology we see with them, some of it may be synchronicity. I'm just willing to entertain that. No, I mean, I don't think Zach's an agent. I mean, maybe. I don't know, guys. The thing that gets me with that is that he promoted me and put me on his channel without knowing anything about me, which isn't really shill behavior. And I think most of what he shares is enlightening, and it helps wake people up. So I don't buy that argument. But again, we're all on our own path. We're all trying to figure things out. All we're saying is that Zach is credited for being the first guy to really get Gematria out there. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions. Yeah, and the reason I don't talk down about him in my videos is because, I mean, people in the chat do that. And I don't follow him anymore. I don't follow his sports picks. So you guys got to be the judge. But I know Zach still watches some of my videos and offers his critique. I think he honestly just wants me to be as good as I can at teaching Gematria. So, we're all getting there on our own path. Anyone else got any questions? I don't feel like I have to stop yet, actually. Hey, I tell you what, if Zach reaches out, I would go live with him again. Yeah. The problem is that he has gone out of his way to be extremely nasty with me. And I don't have any respect for how he's behaved towards me. Now, I do give him credit that he has come around and started teaching about eclipses and astrology a little more and given me, props. But, there's an apology in order for sure. Because I don't have patience for the type of stuff that he said. Overdue would be D-U-E, not D-O, by the way. Well, I don't think was I the only one to pick the Braves though. I think there were several people to pick the Braves. They might have done it before me. The Hank Aaron riddle was really strong, so I don't doubt that other people got it too. Desi, yeah. Well, you're already my handler, bro. You know that. Shout out to Desi. He's the best. Good fact about Warren Moon. Warren Moon is an interesting astrological character. I've pointed him out in the past. Oh, boy. All right. So I think I'm going to wrap this up here. I feel like it's all coming to a close here. We're winding down. Don't want to overdo the stream. You're right. But yeah, I just wanted to cover this this van attack, how those of us who pay attention to this code are always getting closer to the truth, always picking up on things in a better light. And hopefully we'll get better at this, you know? All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Love everybody in the chat. Hope everyone has a great week. Stay strong, stay positive. The world is still molding into our idea of what it should be. Just remember that. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you later. See ya.